And it is now 1 p.m. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Perfect.
Sure
Thank you.
can.
Thank you. All right. The March 7th, 2022 MAG Transit Committee meeting is called to order. Good afternoon, members of the MAG Transit Committee. As a reminder, please turn your mics on and clearly state your name before speaking to ensure that all members of the audience can hear you. And please mute your mics when not speaking to eliminate feedback. As a reminder, phone attendees will need to press *6 to unmute themselves. Because this is a virtual meeting, a roll call vote will be taken for each action item on the agenda. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. Carol?
Right. Ms. Dusenberry? Mr. Dudley?
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Banda? Mr. Crampton?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Macias?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Graves?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Coomer?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Williams? Mr. Link?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. McMurdy?
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Kempton?
I'm here.
Thank you. Ms. Sorrell? Ms. Colbath?
I'm here.
Thank you. Ms. Arredondo? Ms. Wilkie? Mr. LaPuma?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Corapella? Ms. Taylor?
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Iverson?
Hey, this is Sam Stevenson from Tempe.
Thanks, Sam. Mr. Elias?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Ketchersign?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Thank you. Chair Sapien?
Present and accounted for.
Thank you. Just in case someone walked in, as I was reading through, final call for Ms. Dusenberry, Mr. Banda, Mr. Williams, Ms. Sorrell, Ms. Arredondo, Ms. Wilkie, Ms. Corapella. Did I miss? Are any of you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Kara, this is Jody. I'm here.
Jody, got you. Thank you.
Kara, this is Nathan.
Kara,
I'm here as well.
Okay.
Kara, this is Heather Wilkie. I'm also on. Thank you.
Heather Wilkie and Nathan Williams. Okay. Anybody else? We now have a quorum, Chair Sapien. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carol. Appreciate it. So we now move on to item number 2, call to the audience. An opportunity for public comment on the agenda was provided ahead of the meeting. MAG staff, have we received any public comments?
Chair Sapien, we have not received any comments for this item or any other item on the agenda today.
We'll get one day. All right, item number 3, Transportation Planning Program Manager's Report. Audra Kessler Thomas, MAG Transportation Planning Program Manager, will provide a report on the activities of general interest.
Thank you, Chairman Sapien and members of Transit Committee. Great to be with you here today. Just a few items for your consideration. First, enabling legislation remains MAG's top priority. Both Senate Bill 1356 and House Bill 2598 have made it out of their respective committees and are awaiting floor action. I emphasize to all of you that is our top priority. You all know why it's our top priority. Enabling legislation remedies our 24 different statutes that guide how we do business in order to implement the plan we have just unanimously adopted last year, and also places a 25-year extension of the half-cent sales tax on the Maricopa County ballot this November. Without enabling legislation, we can do neither of those things, and henceforth the priority of this getting through session. If you have any questions, certainly reach me offline. Just a few other items for the committee. I'd like to welcome Jeff Graves as a new member from the town of Florence to Transit Committee. Welcome, Jeff. We also welcome Hannah Quincy to MAG, not a stranger to all of you, of course. Hannah most recently was at Maricopa County Department of Transportation, but before then in Valley Metro's planning group. We're happy to have her back in transit. She will be working with you on specifically transit focused items, but of course the cornucopia of multimodal planning work we do have here at MAG. So I wanted to acknowledge Hannah's arrival at MAG. Please reach out and greet her as well. And then finally, I wanted to let you know that our joint meeting with Active Transportation is scheduled for our June meeting. So June 6th, planning is underway. We're identifying some topics for consideration. Just wanted to make sure that that was on your radar. That annual tradition of a joint meeting between Active Transportation and Transit Committee continues this year and will commence on June 6th. Chairman Sapien, that completes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions offline.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Audra or other MAG staff? Hearing none, I want to express my gratitude to MAG staff over the past couple of years working on the whole momentum progress. Really, really big deal for transportation as a whole for our region. And hopefully we all get to see that entire effort bear some positive fruits here for us all. Much needed as we continue to grow, as our mayor continually touts the growth of Phoenix and the region around here. It's people want to live here, and those of us already here know why. It's beautiful. All right, so the next item is approval of the January 3rd, 2022 Transit Committee meeting minutes. Do any members of the committee have questions or corrections to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve, Kathy.
Anderson, second.
Thank you both. So we have a motion from Colbath and a second from Anderson. Kara will undertake a roll call vote. Please indicate how you vote.
Thank you, Chair Sapien. Mr. Dudley?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Crampton?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Macias?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Graves?
Aye.
Thanks. Ms. Coomer?
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Link?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. McMurdy?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Kempton?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Sorrell?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Colbath?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Wilkie?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. LaPuma?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Elias?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Ketcherside?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Thank you. Chair Sapien?
Aye.
Thank you. Did anyone come in late that I missed?
Ratna from Scottsdale.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ratna. And how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Chair Sapien, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience as we work through those. Very, very important. All right, moving on to the next item, item number 5. on the agenda will be presented by Steph Stearns, MAG Transportation Planner. This item is on the agenda for action. Steph?
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Sapien and members of the Transit Committee. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to present this item for action. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, one more. Thank you. Before we get started, I wanted to provide an overview of the purpose of today's request. We will be reviewing MAG's responsibility as the MPO for the region to oversee the programming of federal funds, the flow of federal funds in the MAG region, and the policies in place that guide the programming of those funds. Next slide, please. To go over some roles and responsibilities, the FTA disperses funds to urbanized areas, or UZAs. MAG's role is to oversee the allocation of federal funds in the region for both the Phoenix Mesa and Avondale Goodyear UZAs. MAG also maintains the TIP, or the Transportation Improvement Program, and works closely with the City of Phoenix to provide concurrence on grants before they are submitted. As the designated and direct recipient of FT funds for the region, grant submittal is a City of Phoenix responsibility. Next slide, please. The first step to understanding the flow of federal transit funds in the region is to understand what a UZA is and its importance. A UZA, or an urbanized area, is a census designated area. They're designated after each decennial census, and there are 2 UZAs in the MAG region, Phoenix Mesa and Avondale Goodyear. Next slide, please. We are currently operating under the 2010 decennial census designations. Shown on the map are the 2 UZAs in our region. The Avondale Goodyear UZA is designated as a small UZA, while the Phoenix Mesa UZA is designated as a large UZA. Each UZA receives an apportionment of 5307 urbanized area funds. These funds are restricted to the area for which they are apportioned, and we are federally required to maintain these funds separately. Next slide, please. The programming of federal transit funds is dictated by the regional programming guidelines for federal transit formula funds. Specifically, Section 800 details the collaborative process employed by member agencies within the UZA and details eligible expenses. Microtransit falls under the category of operating assistance and is an eligible expense. Next slide, please. Federal guidelines allow for federal funds to support transit operations. This is for small UZAs only, such as Avondale Goodyear, and there is a 50-50 federal and local match ratio. The transit operations that are currently funded in the Avondale Goodyear UZA with 5307 funds include portions of routes 3 and 17, the express routes 562 and 563, the Avondale Zoom circulator, and a portion of the Southwest Valley paratransit costs. Next slide, please. I mentioned previously that we are still operating under the 2010 census designations. The final results of the 2010 census are pending, but we do anticipate a combination of the Avondale Goodyear and Phoenix Mesa UZAs. We anticipate this beginning next year for 2023. This means that 5307 funds apportioned to the Avondale Goodyear UZA dated 2022 and earlier will continue to be eligible for operating assistance, while any funds apportioned to the region beginning in 2023 will not be eligible for federal operating assistance. The rule change applies to the year that the funding was apportioned and not the year that the funds are being spent. One way that transit funds are a little bit unique from highway funds is that we are allowed to spend prior year dollars in future years. Next slide, please. A fund balance has been established to ease the transition from 50% federally funded operations to 100% locally funded operations. The fund balance will allow member agencies sufficient time to allocate local funding for operations where federal funding had previously been used. Based on the projected remaining apportionments for the Avondale-Goodyear UZA, an estimated 4 years worth of operating assistance are in fund balance. Note that any funds programmed to microtransit will reduce the amount of general operating assistance programmed into the fund balance. Next slide, please. Beginning in October 2022, Tolleson and Goodyear are pulling out of the Zoom, and the Zoom will be reconfigured to operate in South Avondale. That's the yellow shaded portion on the map here. Microtransit has been identified as a solution to fill the gaps caused by this reconfiguration, and there will be distinct service areas in both Avondale and Goodyear. Further impacts of the proposed Zoom reduction are unknown at this time. Next slide, please. The Avondale-Goodyear Transit Study was a MAG-funded study completed in 2021. The study evaluated the need for new and improved transit service in the cities of Avondale and Goodyear. The implementation of a microtransit pilot was identified as a potential opportunity as part of this study. Next slide, please. Microtransit as a concept can take on many different characteristics. For the purposes of this pilot, microtransit is envisioned to operate much like transportation network companies such as Uber and Lyft, where riders use a smartphone app to request service within a specified area to assist with the first and last mile of transit trips. Next slide, please. To recap, microtransit is an eligible use of 5307 funds apportioned to the Avondale-Goodyear urbanized area. The cities of Avondale and Goodyear are seeking a total of $1 million of 5307 funds that were apportioned to the Avondale-Goodyear UZA. This is to support half of the costs of a 1-year pilot program in each city. In other words, it's $500,000 each. This is a unique opportunity to pilot innovative transit service options at a federally subsidized cost, since as I previously mentioned, costs after 2022 will be ineligible. At the conclusion of the pilot program, Avondale and Goodyear will determine whether or not to continue to fund the program/programs locally. Next slide, please. I would like to once again emphasize MAG's role in the oversight of programming federal funds, which is why we are here today. Following today's presentation, this item will be heard at the Transportation Review Committee and then move on to the MAG Policy Committee meetings. Chair Sapien, this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Are there any comments or questions before we entertain a motion? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
This is Matt Dudley, City of Avondale. Move for approval.
This is Jose.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Carol will undertake a roll call for this item. Please indicate how you vote.
Jesus?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought I didn't speak up fast enough. This is Carol Ketcherside.
Yes, go ahead, Carol.
I just want to understand the 4-year balance in the operating fund to help, that's there to help with transition, and then this request, does this request impact that and shorten the 4 years, or does it still say at 4 years?
Thank you, Ms. Ketcherside and members of the Transit Committee. To answer that, the $1 million that is proposed to be programmed to fund the microtransit pilot are 2022 year of apportionment dollars. As the fund balance currently sits, there are approximately 3 years of operating assistance in there. That doesn't count 2022. So once we add funding for 2022, that'll add about another year. So this item will not reduce the 4-year time frame that was provided.
Thank you. That helps.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from any members of the committee? If not, we have a motion and a second. Carol will do a roll call. Please indicate how you vote.
Can you remind me who did the second, please? I had Mr. Dudley for the motion.
Jose from Almiraj.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Dudley, how do you vote?
I made the motion, so yes.
Thank you. We just need a verbal affirmation. Mr. Crampton.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Messias. Thank you, Mr. Graves.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Coomer.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Link.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. McMurdy.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Kempton.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Sorrell.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Colbath.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. LaPuma.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Elias.
Aye.
Thanks, Ms. Ketcherside.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair Sapien.
Aye.
And did anyone else join us in the meantime that I missed?
Yeah, Carol, this is Sean from City of Buckeye.
Sean,
Aye.
thank you.
And this is Sarah Allred from ADOT, and I will abstain from voting.
Great, thank you.
This is Ratna Korbala.
Oh, Ratna, did I? Oh, sorry. How do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ratna. I did have you down for the other ones, just so you know. All right, and the motion passes.
All right, thank you everybody so much. Very well run. The next item we have is item number 6. I will be presented by Ken Kessler, City of Phoenix. This item is for information and discussion. Mr. Kessler.
Thanks, Chair Sapien. Yeah, so there's no formal presentation on this. This is the semi-annual FTA grant status report. Phoenix provides this to MAG to inform the Transit Committee, basically the status of all the outstanding grants. As you can see by the 15 pages of the report, we have many grants still open and ongoing. Some of the good news is we are doing a really good job spending down our COVID relief funds. If you recall, we received funds in the CARES Act, the CRISA, and ARPA legislation as well. So that is going well. We've spent down all of the CARES Act money for the Phoenix Mesa UZA, most of it for Avondale Goodyear. We should probably exhaust those monies next fiscal year. That's just due to the level of service and the amount of money. That first round in the CARES Act, there was quite a bit of money for the Avondale Goodyear UZA in relation to the actual annual cost of service. So that's providing funding for a number of years. Other grants, we've got a large balance. If you look at the bottom of the report, and we have about 1.8, almost 1.9 billion in awarded grants, and then about nearly 550 million unspent. A large chunk of that, about 200 to 300 million, are for the ongoing light rail projects. Those projects continue to make good progress and draw down funds in good time. Other projects, we have some technology projects that are still out there that are fairly large. CAT-AVL is winding down. We've just about drawn down all the monies for that. There'll be some project savings that Phoenix will work with MAG to reprogram when we know the final tally of what's left over after all the final costs are in on that project. The Fair Collection project is funded under, I think, 2 or 3 different grants. That project is ongoing. Design for the phase 1 mobile ticketing is getting really close to nearing the end. We're looking to launch the pilot late this calendar year, and with the mobile ticketing up and rolling, and then hopefully all the bugs worked out before Super Bowl next year. That's the goal of the project team, is make sure we have mobile ticketing available and bugs worked out when the Super Bowl arrives. And then the phase 2 of that project, which includes fare boxes as well as the smart cards, on track for late summer, early fall launch for that phase. That will exhaust a fair amount of money that we have in grants. And then, of course, the one place where we're seeing kind of slower movement these days is the purchase of buses, just given the situation with the long lines at the bus manufacturers and sort of the slowdown in production that's been a result of the pandemic. Bus replacement money is not moving as fast as it was pre-pandemic, but hopefully as manufacturers kind of ramp up to some normal state of production, we'll see those dollars start to move out and see, newer replacement buses rolling in. That's pretty much it. Just that, as always, I want to emphasize to everybody, please keep those projects moving, keep these federal dollars flowing. We want to show that we're using our FTA dollars, and we have these competitive grant processes with FTA. They want to see that we're using the monies we've already received. So it's important that we keep moving our projects forward and keep spending down our grant funds. And then obviously, we're getting more money going forward with the new bill, the new authorization of surface transportation as part of that. And so, we don't know exactly how much, but when full apportionments are out here, hopefully in the next month and a half, if Congress can pass a full year budget package, then we'll see where we're at. And then obviously MAG will work to program the funds fully to the apportionments. And then Phoenix will start to move on the grants. Probably, I would estimate probably sometime in the summer with grant awards for the 22 round, probably late fall, late this calendar year, and probably into early next calendar year. And that's pretty much all I have. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Chairman Sapien, this is Audra. I was just going to ask Ken if there's any particular points of emphasis, any particular grants or projects that are hanging out there and getting us in trouble on obligation authority or anything like that.
No, not necessarily on obligation authority. We're doing pretty good there. I think we have some funds for the Levine Park and Ride that we need to obligate. I believe Stephanie said by September of 23. Phoenix has been challenged there in finding land. When the 202, the South Mountain 202 was completed, we thought we were going to have a plot of land out there near 202 and Baseline. That didn't happen. We had some negotiations with a couple of different landowners in that area. That didn't go well. Price really escalated due to demand in that area. And so really that project is probably looking at, a somewhat mid-term deferment, I would think. I need to circle back with Joe Bauer, exactly where he's at. The last I knew, the land acquisition was really quite challenging right now. And so, but that's not a huge project in the grand scheme of things in terms of dollars. I think in all the grants, we have about $5 to $6 million obligated, plus I think there's, or not obligated, but unobligated, waiting to be obligated in grants. So we'll need to move on that in the next probably 6 to 9 months to make sure we program those. If we reprogram those funds, we get them reprogrammed and get a grant moving to make sure we don't miss the obligation deadline.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee for Mr. Kessler? All right. Thank you, Ken. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Item number 7, Request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by a committee member for a future agenda item? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the final item, adjournment. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 4th, 2022 at 1 p.m. via teleconference. With no further business, the meeting of the MAG Transit Committee is now adjourned at 1:31 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesus.